Welcome to the Plato Paradigm, a paradigm shift in reading Plato's dialogues. Episode 151, Meno 99c. One of the main problems Socrates has been having with Meno is that Meno is convinced that teaching involves passing episteme, understanding or knowledge, from a teacher to a pupil. And if arete, virtue, is something teachable, it must be episteme, which in itself is not all that problematic. But Meno is also convinced that virtue isn't teachable because no one teaches it, which hasn't been demonstrated. All that has been agreed between Socrates and Meno is that people do not agree over what should be taught. Socrates has recently been examining Meno's ability to recall things during the conversation, and Socrates has been misremembering the whole argument from the beginning of the hypothesis that virtue is something taught until the present. And it is evident that while Meno is able to remember anything a teacher tells him, he is unable, or he doesn't realize, that one can remember what has been said in a conversation. He doesn't see conversation as a form of teaching. Socrates now makes his last attempt to break Meno out of his complacency by removing episteme altogether. It would appear, according to the argument, that politicians who appear to have virtue may indeed have virtue, but not through episteme. They do not understand what they are doing, why they are doing it. Even so, they appear to be good. If we assume for the moment that they appear to be good because they are good, because they do have virtue, we would have to conclude that if virtue isn't a form of episteme, it must be a form of doxa, either correct opinion, orthodoxa, or true opinion, alithes doxa, which are the two forms of doxa which have been discussed. Socrates once more tests Meno by failing to give either of these types of doxa and instead choosing to use the concept eudoxia, which is neither correct nor true opinion, but good opinion. The problem is that this word is used exclusively to refer to the good opinion of other people regarding someone who appears to be good. It is not the politician himself who has an opinion which guides him, but the people in the polis who have an opinion about the politician, and it is their opinion which, according to the argument at least, guides the politician. This is a perversion of an already perverse argument which had proposed that correct or true opinion would lead a general and his army to Larissa. It's now as if the general leads his army to Larissa thanks to the opinion of people watching. It's as if people are running alongside the roads telling the general in which direction to go. However, if that were the case, these people would probably know what they're talking about, and that would be a form of episteme. It is not the general who has his own opinion who leads the army, but the general population who have episteme, and they would be leading the general. At the very least, Meno should have challenged Socrates for talking about good opinion, which is the first mention of good opinion in this dialogue. We have had correct opinion and true opinion. It might be too much to have expected Meno to challenge Socrates on the transference of opinion from the politicians who are supposedly leading to the civilians themselves who are supposedly led. As we saw last time, it is only the Standard Dictionary and any other Platonist who try to retain the agency of eudoxia in the person leading, in this case the politicians. These attempts necessarily pervert the proper meaning of eudoxia as good repute or good opinion of other people with regard to the person with the good reputation, and instead construe the good opinion as good judgment, or even correct opinion or true opinion, whatever focuses the opinion in the leaders themselves. This is clearly not what Socrates says, but it is almost required by people who need Plato to have his characters say things which are philosophically plausible. We are not shackled by this ideology. We can see that the characters all have a mind of their own, but their mind tends not to be particularly philosophical, except for Socrates. But Socrates expresses not his own opinion, but notions which are designed to draw out the absurdities or the inconsistencies in the opinions of his interlocutor. If Meno really thinks that politicians don't have episteme, how far is he prepared to go? Would he accept that politicians are utterly mindless? And we have to remember that Anytus is in the area. I'll repeat the last thing Socrates said and carry on from there. Ukun me episteme eudoxiede toloipon gignetai, hei hoi politikoi andres chromenoi, tas poles orthusin, udendi eferontos echontes prostofronen, hoi chresmodoitecai hoi theomantes, Gaigar hutoi enthusiontes legusin menale thecai pola, isas iduden hon legusin. Kindoniue utos echen. So, if not by episteme, knowledge or understanding, then what's left is by eudoxia, good opinion, meaning good reputation, using which the political men set straight the cities, being no better in behaving prudently than prophets or soothsayers. For these too, when they are inspired, say true things and many things, but they know nothing of which they speak. It might well be so. Socrates gives a string of startling statements which may have led a lesser person than Meno to react at a number of points. What's eudoxia? We haven't been talking about good opinion, the good opinion of people towards politicians. And what's this about politicians using eudoxia? How do they use it? When steering the cities straight, The verb used for ruling cities is ortheo, which is connected to orthodoxa, correct opinion. This is the verb of directing, not really correcting, directing cities, which is like the Latin rego, from which we get direct and rector and rectangle. It's steering the state straight. How can you steer the state straight? Just with the good opinion of the subjects rather than the correct or true opinion of the leaders. The obvious answer is that the many look to these politicians as if they are good. The politicians appear to be good. They appear to be ruling well. This is what is wrong with eudoxia. The politicians themselves, as Meno is happy to agree, have absolutely no idea what they're doing. They're just like prophets or soothsayers who also say many true things. But these latter people are simply vessels through which gods speak. Strictly speaking, the only connection between politicians on the one hand and prophets and soothsayers on the other is that they all have a lack of understanding when it comes to doing prudent things. The priests and soothsayers don't have eudoxia, they don't have the good opinion of the many, while politicians on the other side don't have gods speaking through them. They do rely on the good opinion of the citizens. Socrates would surely have been happy if Meno had picked up on any of these thought-provoking points. Unfortunately, they don't provoke thought in Meno. Uk uno menon axion tutus theus calentus andras, hoitenes nun me echontes polacae megala catorthusin hon pratusi cae legusi, panuge. So we know, aren't these men worthy of being called divine, who, having no sense, correctly execute many and great things of the things that they do and say? Absolutely. The men Socrates is talking about must surely still be the politicians, but he is now saying that they should be called divine, which connects them with the prophets and the soothsayers, which were introduced just now as a comparison with the politicians, as people who do good things but without understanding anything. At least Socrates is beginning to say that the politicians are doing God's work.